Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. Spring is in the air because it's opening weekend at beautiful Belmont Park, and the feature race on Saturday is the $125,000 Elusive Quality Stakes, and you can bet that Belmont Saturday card with DRF bets, and it's $150 sign-up bonus. Just go to drf.com/join, type in the promo code TV150. Let's take a look at this field of turf sprinters getting set to go 7 furlongs on the Widener turf course. Let's begin on the far outside. I want to give Carafa all the respect that this 9-year-old deserves. He's banked $1.1 million in his career. He has fired fresh off layoffs in the past, but we haven't seen him since September in a race where I thought he ran great, the Ashley T. Cole, a race where there wasn't a lot of pace and he was just on hold in traffic until he found a seam late. Yeah, no, he ran nothing but good races last year. It's funny because you look at his overall record, he went 0 for 6
but it was a productive year.
And all he did was have another really good year. He just didn't get lucky at all on the racetrack, but he showed that he can still run. I suspect as a 9-year-old, I suspect that he can still run. We'll see what happens. You never know. At some point, it's going to come to an end for this horse, but it hasn't yet. We'll see about, I'm with you. I think he fires fresh. They've started off his campaign each of the last 2 years in this exact race, and it almost, I thought he ran fine both times. It almost felt like both times, though, they were using it as a prep race, because in both of those races he made moves, he got into contention, and then he didn't quite finish. Almost felt like they were giving him a race to stretch him out in some of those longer races, but he still ran well in this race the last 2 years, and he's a huge contender in here.
And don't be fooled that he's a New York bred facing open foes. Those horses he ran in the Cole are pretty good. Cole Provision came back to win with 100 Beyer, then was second in the Grade 3 Red Smith with a 99 Beyer speed figure. Just inside Carafa's Conquest Panthera, a horse that likes to come from the back of the pack. Conquest Panthera basically had similar trips in his last 2 races where he was basically saving ground near the rear of the field and then just evenly rallied down towards the inside. Did you think he was compromised in either one of those races? I thought he ran well, nothing great.
No, I agree with that. I thought he got really good trips both times, especially that Dangerous Hour last time at the left. That trip worked perfectly for him with Dylan Davis saving all the ground, cutting the corner right to contention. He had a shot at that race. Maybe those horses just a little too good for him. He just couldn't get it done in there. I feel this way about him. I think the 7 furlongs is probably a better distance for him. I like this distance for this horse, and he's run some good races in the past. He doesn't have to be that far away from the pace. I just wanted to like him a little more than I actually wound up liking him in this race. I do think he has a race in him that would make him really tough in here. I just don't like him as much as I wanted to.
The 7, though, I think hits him
I think
right
it's a great
between
distance.
the eyes. The question is, I mean, you're right. He does have some tactical speed where he can get close to the pace. Timeform US has the pace projector for this race, so we're going to throw it up right now. We're not expecting a fast pace in here. The blue bar indicates that this is going to favor horses on or near the early lead. Blind Ambition, the number 1, has speed. He showed that stretch out speed last time out in the Grade 3 Canadian turf. Todd Pletcher stretched him out 3 furlongs, and he just got involved in a duel. And if you look at the Timeform US pace numbers for that race, color-coded red, very, very fast. It set things up for closers. Now, the horse he dueled with ended up finishing ahead of Blind Ambition, but he came back to win with a 92 Beyer, and the runner-up in that race came back to run second at Tampa Bay with a 90. Blind Ambition, I also like him turning back. He doesn't necessarily need the lead to win. But I think that last race is better than it looks on paper. He just had no chance the way it's set up.
I mean, I can't really argue with that. I think the pace was probably too fast for him, and he wound up paying the price late. I liked this horse early on with Todd. I loved it when he switched him over to turf, and I really felt like this horse was going to be a really good turf horse, and he's kind of lost me. You know, I don't want to be too tough on him for his last race. I guess the race before that at 5 furlongs off a little layoff. All right, I guess you don't have to be too hard on him for that race either, but he didn't run a jump in there. You go back to the end of last year in that race at Aqueduct, he did not run well in that race either, and so his recent form just doesn't do anything for me, but I hear what you're saying. There's not that much pace in here. They can get a little more aggressive with him, and maybe that works for him. I think going shorter, the mile back to 7, I think that works for him. So there's ways to look at him and think he's good enough for sure. I want to like his races more.
It's a good point, though, that the races 2 and 3 back just aren't very sharp, but it could be a completely different pace scenario at a distance that's better for him. He is 12-1 on the morning line, and we have a Todd Pletcher formulator fact. Over the past 2 years with older turf horses of 45 to 60-day layoffs, 31% winners, a $3.84 ROI. That's Blind Ambition. Now, a horse that's going to be coming from well out of it is the number 2 on draft. Isn't he a cool horse? He's close
closing in on $1.5 million in lifetime earnings, and all he did to close off his 7-year-old campaign was win an allowance race with a 95 buyer. Now, the pace I thought was pretty fast over that wet track that day, and he looked like he was in big trouble at about the 3/16 pole, but somehow, probably on class alone, undrafted got it done. Did you get the feeling that despite undrafted winning twice in 2017, that he might have lost a little zip off his fastball?
I believe that he has lost a step. I thought he lost a step in 2016, and I don't think that he really turned it around all that much last year. He's at the point now, he's still a pretty good horse, and he still runs, and I don't think you have to worry that much about 7 furlongs for him. I think the distance is okay, but he's pretty much at the point now where he needs a wicked pace in front of him in order to run his best, and I just don't think he's going to get it. He got that at Churchill. He got that when he won at Keeneland in his first start last April, a wicked pace in front of him, and he closed it down. And even that race 2 back, when Blind Ambition beat him, I mean, a wicked fast duel in front that day. He didn't get as good a trip as Blind Ambition did, but he got a good one, and he rallied into second in that race, and I just don't feel like that setup is coming for him on Saturday.
Cassie's hoping Conquest Panthera, the turnback is what he needs. He's hoping that Commute needed his most recent race, the Grade 2 Shakertown, his first race off of a July layoff. I wanted to give him a little bit of a chance in that spot, especially when the turf course came up soft, and he just was outrun a little bit early, altered course to the outside. He kind of just finished with a little bit of a kick. I kind of expected a little bit more, but then off the July layoff, maybe I was just expecting too much. Second back has been a big angle for this horse over the years. You go back to the May 7th race, a win. The October 8th, 2016 race, a win. The second Lifetime Start, a win. The Shakertown 2016, third beaten a length in a Grade 2 stake. Cassie usually gives him a race, and he moves forward, and he's got tactical speed. I'm scared of this horse.
Yeah, me too. I'm definitely using this horse. I don't really care that much about his Shakertown. It was soft turf, off of a long layoff, and he just got a little bit too far away in there. It wasn't a great performance, but just as a starting off point, I think it's fine. And I love this horse getting back out to 7. I think the 7 furlongs is a really good distance for this horse, and I think he'll be closer to the pace this time. I think he's super dangerous.
Commend goes out for Belmont. I know you've always tried to like this horse, and he ran once down at the fairgrounds, and he really just didn't fire. Against Holding Gold is a pretty good turf course. He does have tactical speed, which should really serve him well in this race, but I know you've always kind of liked him at the shorter distances. He's going to have to go 7 off of about a 2-month layoff.
Yeah, that's exactly how I look at him. His race at the fairgrounds wasn't good. The pace wasn't fast. He got close to it, and he just didn't fire at all in there, but he's better than that race. It's just a question of whether you really think he's a graded stakes kind of horse, and I'm not sure that I think he is. I like him as a horse. I like him going a lot shorter, and I know 7 furlongs is technically a sprint, but these 7 furlong turf races at Belmont, they're not really for true turf sprinters. They're not for the 5 and 6 furlong horses. They're for the horses that want to go a little longer. I don't think he wants to do that.
Field of Courage has had a weird career. He was 3rd in the Canadian Classic on the dirt, the Prince of Wales. He won a $40,000 claimer to kick off his 2017 campaign. And then over that boggy turf course on Canadian International Day, he pulled off one of several shockers on the afternoon at Woodbine at 40-1, just cruising up outside and getting the better of those horses, seemingly loving that course. He then came back in the lobby, but it was only a 4-horse field, but it was a quality 4-horse field, and he kind of got hooked up with Shakamat a bit early, and both those horses paid the price.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, he's just, that Nearctic win just sort of stands out on his PPs almost like it doesn't belong in there, and I almost feel like the turf condition had to have something to do with it. When you go back and watch the replay, he looked good in that. He won that race easy with a 4-wide move. None of his other races, though, really sort of stack up to that performance, and I hear what you're saying about the Labib, but he didn't run that great in that race. I don't care about his last 2 races on dirt. I just don't think he's a dirt horse, so I like him coming back to turf. I just don't know if I think he's this good.
I'm sure Rudy claimed him with turf in mind 2 starts back. Field of Courage is another horse, though, that can show a little bit of speed and can be close to what is expected to be a moderate pace. One horse that, if he starts, won't be close to the pace is the 4 Great Stuff, who will be making his turf debut by Quality Road. Gets 10% winners with first-time turf runners. This dam has thrown a turf winner, and she's a have to strike it rich. You remember her from the Clement barn, a graded stakes winner on the turf. There's a little bit of turf here. I just wonder if Jacobson entered thinking maybe it'll rain.
That's how I have to look at it, just because this horse has been around forever, and they've never even tried him on the turf before. They have that one race, July 2016, that came off the turf. He was entered main track only that day. He wasn't even entered for the turf. I don't know, Dan. He's a good horse. He's in really good form right now, but
boy, this is a tough spot to make your turf debut.
Let's take a look at our top selections, because my second pick is your top pick, and that's the number 3, Ready for Rye, who's getting back on turf. He has not raced on the turf since October, and in that race, he took on one of the better turf sprinters in the country in Disco Partner. I thought he had a really nice trip, tracking the pace. Disco Partner's just a better horse than he is. He came back to run 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Turf Sprint.
Yeah, I mean, he ran fine in that race. If you go back one start prior to that Saratoga race, Lucky Coin, he didn't get a great trip in that race. So I don't really want to be too hard on him for that race. He's just one of those horses. I think he's really hard to trust in a race like this because it feels like he never wins. I have personally, he's a good dirt horse, but I've personally always felt like he's just a little bit better on turf than he is on dirt. He's probably ultimately best on a wet track. He probably really likes a muddy dirt track better than anything else, but I think he's a better turf horse than he is a dirt horse. And he just doesn't run on turf that often for whatever reason. I like this position for him for 2 reasons. I think 7 furlongs is a good distance for him, and we've already talked about the pace a few different times. There's just not that much speed in here, and he's got tactical speed. I think he's going to be sitting right up close in this race. Maybe he gets first run on some of the closers.
6-1 on the morning line for the 3, Ready for Rye, Mike's top pick. He's going 3, 5, 10, and 9. 12-1 on the morning line for my top pick, Blind Ambition. I'm going 1, 3, 9, and 10 in the $125,000 Elusive Quality Stakes, which you can bet via DRFBet. Sign up for a new account, get your $150 sign-up bonus, start punching away. DRF.com/join. Type in the promo code TV150. Approximate post time for the feature at Belmont on Saturday. Race them at 9, 5:50 Eastern. Good luck.